Crypto Caesar Capital. Hope you are well. It's the 30th of December 2023, and we're just going to have a look at Bitcoin. We're going to consider the ETF, and we're going to consider some other ETFs as well to try and get a bit of perspective, and then we'll come back and have a look at the Bitcoin chart in a minute. But the first thing I want to say before we look at this gold ETF is that, you know, I don't want you to misunderstand me here, okay? I'm super bullish for this ETF, okay? I think that it's really bullish, and if you go back and look at all my videos in the past and look at my tweets, you'll see how bullish I am on the ETF. I mean, at the end of the day, this is the first time that real institutional money will actually flow into Bitcoin, which I'm hyper bullish about. And I'm also super bullish about 2024. And I set out my reasons for that in my last video, but in summary, we've got, you know, an ETF approval on the horizon with all this institutional money coming in. We've got a halving event in April of 2024, which is always bullish for Bitcoin. We've got interest rates probably being reduced at some point in 2024. We've got global liquidity rising, which is always bullish. And of course, we've got a US election in 2024. So all of those things are a good recipe, right, for a bull market. So the first thing is I don't want you to misunderstand what I'm saying here. But at the end of the day, I'm a pragmatist, I'm a realist, okay? And I'm a position trader, and really have a responsibility to look at all the facts, okay? And I think at the moment, whilst, you know, the ETF, potential ETF news is really bullish, I think we have to be realistic about it, and we have to be realistic about what might happen to begin with, okay? So let's have a look at gold. Okay, so gold, the first US gold spot ETF was launched on the 18th of November 2024, so 2004. And to begin with, when it was released, there was a bit of a rally for gold. Okay, gold had a rally of about 2.7%, which, you know, not too bad at all. But then you can see that it sold off. Okay, it sold off 10%. Okay, and then it remained in that range, okay, for 198 days until it recovered its price point at the point of, or just after the point of launch. So it had a 2.7% rally. Okay, then it dumped. Okay, so it was a sell the news event. It remained in a range for 198 days. And then after those 198 days, went on an absolute epic rally. Okay, let's have a look at silver. Silver was very similar. Silver, upon the news, I think it sort of rallied about 2.5%, 3%, 2.6% on the news, which was bullish. But then it sold off 18.5%, and it spent 139 days in this range until it recovered back to the price of which the high it found upon the ETF release. Then it went off and continued to rally pretty hard. So both the gold and the silver ETFs tell us, you know, and people have been waiting for these ETFs for a long time. They tell us that they were actually sell the news events, and there was this area of consolidation before we moved, or they moved to the upside. So that's gold and that's silver, okay? Both sell the news events. Now, I completely accept that there is a high pent-up demand for Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is very different to gold and silver. But to be quite frank, from a digital perspective, gold and Bitcoin are quite similar, okay, in why people hold them, okay? They're a store of value, etc. So I think it's important to have a look at these ETFs, the gold and silver ETFs, because it gives us a bit of sort of, you know, pragmatism. It lets us look at what's actually happened in the past. And then when we look at the Bitcoin chart, okay, we have been basically in an up mode for about what are we now? 16 weeks. So that's a considerable amount of time to be in an up mode. There's been no significant drawdown whatsoever in 16 weeks. Okay, so that's, well, I mean, you could even say this, there's been no significant drawdown for a longer period of time. I mean, if you wanted to go from, let's say, sort of about here to here, so 34 weeks, no significant drawdown. And if we take this drawdown away, it's still quite a significant period of time. Okay, so my point is this, is that Bitcoin has just been going up and up and up and up with no significant drawdown, and Bitcoin likes a good drawdown. And let's be pragmatic, let's be realists, and let's look back in the past at bull markets and how much Bitcoin draws down during bull markets. We're not in a bear market, we're in a bull market. Why are we in a bull market? Because Bitcoin is consistently printing higher lows on a higher time frame. Okay, so we are in an upward trending market. Yeah, so I completely accept that. I've been saying that for a long time, and as you know, I'm hyper bullish. But let's just have a look at the drawdowns that Bitcoin has had in previous bull markets. So this was the bull market of that started in 2015, continued into 2017. Okay, there was a nice drawdown here of 42%. Okay, from the high to the low, 42%. Then there was a nice drawdown just before the halving, a nice little halving dump. Okay, from here to here. Okay, that was a 42% correction. Then there was another correction here. That was a 33% correction there. So 33% correction. Then there was another correction from here to here. That was a 38% correction. And there was this correction, okay, measured here. That was a 38% correction. Okay, then there was this correction from here to here. Okay, that was also a 38% correction. Let's continue. Let's have a look. So then we had the second cycle. Big drawdown there. Completely accept we're not really in these sorts of circumstances now, because we had this absolute parabolic move, which was unsustainable. Okay, straight out of a bottom basically, and that was a real strong parabolic move, very unsustainable. But it sold off, and it sold off from here to here. Now I'm not going to take this into account because that was an unforeseen circumstance. It was a black swan event, so I'm not going to look at that. But this correction here was 54%. Now I don't think that's going to happen here, because in that situation, Bitcoin was very overextended, and that move really was parabolic. It was just pretty much straight up very, very quickly. It was straight up in a matter of, 20 weeks. It was just woof, straight up. Okay. Now, I don't think that we're going to have a sell-off like that, but still, given its parabola, it had a 50% correction. Then we had lots of other corrections along the way. Just into the halving, we had this correction from here to here, which was a 19% correction. Okay, that was a 19% correction there. Then we had this correction from here to here, 23% correction. And of course, there were then further corrections along the way. I mean, you can map this out yourselves, but there was another one here from here to here, which was 33% correction. Then this correction from here to here, which was, that was a deep 50% correction. But I don't think that's going to happen here, because we're at the beginning of a bull market. But my point is, okay, that we have been moving up for a long time. There hasn't been a significant sell-off. Okay, we have had a couple on the way. We had this one, which was nice. That was 22%. That was good, healthy. That's what Bitcoin likes. Nice, healthy corrections. Then we had this correction, 21%. But we haven't had any since really this correction here. So, it's been 17 weeks without a significant correction. So it's not out of this world to suggest that upon the ETF news, we get a bit of a pump, because of the FOMO, okay? We get a bit of a pump up to the 50K mark, okay? And then there's a bit of a sell-off, okay? And if there was a sell-off, okay, and it did come back to this area of support, which I call the Spartan area of support, if you watch my previous videos, if we got a correction of that depth, okay, which is quite possible, okay, from the sort of 50K mark all the way down to the sort of, let's say it gets to 32K, all right, that is a 36.5% correction. And if that happened, that would be normal, that would be healthy, and that would be very characteristic of how Bitcoin acts in bull markets. Okay, so don't be surprised of it. And the reason why I think that this is all entirely possible is because we've been trending upwards for such a long time now that Bitcoin is due a correction. Okay, and if you go back and look in history, you will see that Bitcoin likes these sorts of 30 to 40% corrections. And we know that gold sold off. It was a sell the news event. We know that silver was a sell the news event. So my point is that if we do get this correction, don't be surprised about it. And if you are a position trader and you're looking to take some profit, taking a bit of profit around the 47 to 50K mark would not be a bad area to take some profit. A little bit of profit never hurt anybody. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, paper gains are nothing until you take profit. So taking profit around the 47, 50K mark would not be such a bad thing to do. And if it runs from you, it runs from you. It doesn't matter. But if it doesn't, then you can reposition yourself when Bitcoin makes that correction. So my point is that whilst Bitcoin at the moment is looking hyper bullish, and I'm super bullish for 2024, I still think that we're going to have a correction at some point. Things don't just keep going up forever. There will be a correction. It might be very quick. I don't know. But let's say, for example, that Bitcoin did break out this lovely little situation that it's setting itself up. This is pretty bullish for me. Okay, right at the bottom here. If we start breaking above the top here of 44K and we go for that 50K, okay, and then we have a bit of a dump, a bit of a sell-off, okay, and then we kind of go sideways for a bit and then we start trending upwards into the halving, that would make complete sense to me. That would make absolute and complete sense. And I just think at the moment the market is just a little bit too bullish. And when the market gets too bullish, I always get a little bit cautious. So I just thought I'd just be, you know, a pragmatist and show you the facts and the reality of the potential situation. I don't think that Bitcoin, when the ETFs approve, Bitcoin's just going to go like that. I just don't think that that's going to happen. I think it's going to take time for this capital to flow into Bitcoin. It's not all going to come at once. Anyone suggesting to you that all this capital is going to come at once is just, to be quite frank, an idiot. They know nothing about financial markets. They know nothing about ETFs. Been involved in this game a long time, and I kind of know what I'm talking about. And in my view, I think that potentially we could have a little bit of upside, but there's going to be a correction, and there's going to be, well, there's going to be more than one correction along the way. But for me, a correction, either where we are now or a breakout to the 50K mark, and then a bit of a correction. Maybe it might not get back to this area of 31K, but there's going to have to be some form of correction along the way. And in my view, having a correction of 20 to 30% in the next couple of weeks or so would not be unusual for Bitcoin. Okay. Anyway, that's it for today. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel. Please subscribe to this channel, because we're trying to get as many people to subscribe to this channel as possible, because we're trying to give realist approaches to investing and trading. And if you want to join the group, links in the description. Send us an email. We'll get you into the group straight away. Or equally, you can DM me on Twitter and we can get you in that way. Anyway, have a good New Year's Eve. Wish love to you and your family, and I shall speak to you all very soon. Thank you very much for listening. Take care. Bye-bye.